So with our new president, Catherine Connolly now, and as you know, the office of the presidency doesn't fall under the Freedom of Information Act, where basically the public is entitled to know how much the government is spending, and every other department of the state of the government you can find out, you can send in a Freedom of Information request to find out, how much they're spending and what they're spending it on. But the office of the president doesn't really fall under that, and it should fall because it's not like Catherine Connolly's opening a purse and paying for it herself. Um, we have to pay for everything pretty much. And we don't know exactly how much over 14 years Michael D. Higgins has cost the Irish tax, but we still don't know. We know his wage and stuff like that, but we don't know how much we pay in dog food, etc., etc. If we added it all up, God knows how much we could be looking at. We could be looking at 100 million for 14 years and stuff like that. Insane amount of money when you really think about it. But just the next thing I said about the inauguration of the president, which happened Tuesday. The amount of money that's been spent on a hullabaloo, if you ask me, it should be a very basic ceremony for the presidency. It should be pretty much nearly in the street, to be totally honest, I nearly would say, not in the big banquet hall with big feeds and stuff. I don't agree with that. I do think it should be very basic. I nearly would say it should be in somebody's back garden, to be totally honest. Because it's just elaborate, and particularly if we went from Dublin Castle where the inauguration was, we went a few streets down to O'Connor Street, to Grafton Street, to a few other streets, even to St Stephen's Green, etc. We would find homeless people Irish people lying on the street, nowhere to go, no money, no food, just left to what, pretty much, and that's the straight. And then we went into some places in Dublin, emergency accommodations. We see Irish young women with their children, etc., etc., just left to what there. And there's no such thing as helping them out, looking after them, getting them a meal. There's no such thing as that. So, first of all, the office of the presidency should be abolished. It's the best. It'd be better to use the money for homeless Irish people than using it for some big, from the president that does nothing, pretty much. Signs a few laws and stuff, goes on a few vacations and stuff on the Irish taxpayers' expense for the next 7 years and stuff. I don't think it's any use to the presidency. The told has no power. It'd be different if they had, executive power. What I mean by executive, like in the United States, where they can pass legislation and stuff without Congress, without the Dáil or the Seanad. They can't do that. The Dáil and the Seanad pretty much is their overload. They have no say apart from it. But it should fall under the Freedom of Information Request. Now, over the years, we got different figures and different things. But I would like to know how much the inauguration was, and I don't think we get an answer how much it was, because they don't really have to give it to you, the Office of the Presidency. They don't have to tell you how much it cost, even though the Office of Public Works had something to do with it. But I still don't think they would. If I contacted the Office of Public Works, because they're a pile of idiots in the Office of Public Works anyway, because they won't tell you anything, because they're very afraid after the bicycle shed, and so they should be. But if I contacted them, they say get on to the Office of the Presidency. Then the Office of the Presidency, if I got onto the Office of the Presidency, they say it's the Office of Public Works. And then when I went on to the Office of Public Works, they could tell you, go back to the Office of the Presidency, and then I go back to them, and then they say can't give it because it doesn't fall in the freedom. It's just a rigmarole. It's basically just Billy to Joe and Jack to Jill. It is just a nuisance. The whole presidency should be abolished. But the sheer cost, just to say, of the inauguration, I say it could be 5 million. And then if we take in security, all the cars, the transport, the fuel and stuff like that, and then the big dinner they had, God knows, it could be 20 million, like just for that alone. And not even to mention the election then of the president. The election, like the whole election process was probably 10 million, so it could be 40 million just spent on pretty much something that's going to do nothing for the next 7 years, pretty much, in the vast majority of cases. Because the presidency has no executive power. But yeah, let me know what you think, because I do think the money should be better spent on looking after Irish people that are suffering at the moment. There's loads of young Irish people who can't afford a house. They have to leave this country. They have no hope of ever achieving anything in this country. And there's no such thing as we're going to look after them. There's no such thing as the government saying, we're going to give them a check and look after them. No, we're going to fuck them over in every conceivable way. That's what they're saying. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more, and bye.